So this will be a bookstore right here?
Right here in our studio, beneath our studio, in our unused basement. It's just a storage facility right now. We're going to renovate that. We have to raise the money and funds to do that. It's $180,000. We were optimistic that this is an idea whose time has come because this is a illiteracy desert, and we're looking to change that.
So why is literacy important?
You have to look at the fact that third grade testing scores often are used to justify prison population projections. They are doing prison population projections based upon children who are not reading on their level by third grade. So if you want to get tough on crime, get tough on illiteracy. And we felt that the most proactive way to do that, in the words of Frederick Douglass, whose house we also sit at the foot of Cedar Hill here in Anacostia, he said that it's easier to educate children than to fix broken men. And so we're going about that work. I think that it extends our concept here at We Act Radio as an independent media outlet to address the issues locally, nationally, and internationally, and not just talk about it, but do something about it.
What was that hashtag
as
again?
We Love Books, and as we spell love, L-U-V. We Love Books. That's the hashtag, and that's also the name of the campaign. And we hope that people will support our fund drive. It's going to launch Saturday, May 27th.
And the bookstore doesn't have to make dollars; it just has to make sense.
That's right.
So, hello, wonderful to be here dealing with books and east of the river. That's my heart. I grew up east of the river in Mayfair Mansions and in Kenilworth, and this is a joy to be a part of your program today. I am the author of the book, I don't know if it was famous or infamous, Nappy Hair. It actually had its beginning, its first sharing with an audience here in Anacostia. I was at the museum, and I was sharing my first novel, Thereafter Johnny, and Thereafter Johnny is a tragic novel, and I decided, well, here's something I was using with my students in the university, and to show that African Americans do call and response. So I read the manuscript, the typewritten manuscript of Nappy Hair. Girl, you know, you sure do have some nappy hair on your head. Well, and back and forth like that. And they loved it so much, they said, why haven't you published that book? So I just sent it to my publisher, and it came out. And I wanted to know that it was demanded by African American people, by black people. But about a year after it came out, there was a controversy. It was banned all over this country. Teachers were kicked out of their classrooms for teaching this book. It's still not able to be taught in New York City. This is the 20th year. We're trying to get it officially unbanned in New York City. And I consider today essentially the beginning of the 20th year anniversary celebration of my book, Nappy Hair. So I thank you for the invitation, and I'm glad to be here. I would like to quickly share with you just a few others of my books, especially the little book, Little Georgia and the Apples, is a book I wrote with children who grew up in Ward 7, and their they played the different characters. My mother's name is Georgia, and she used to give away everything she could find. And it's a story about her being sent to the store to buy apples for the family. By the time she got home, she had only one apple left because she had given one to everybody on the neighborhood. And that's my mother. So I love her, and she's still with me, 92 years old, back at home. Always in Olivia, a book of my Jewish ancestry. Jews come in all colors. The Jews and the Muslims were kicked out of Spain in 1492. My family was among those and did a lot of wandering and ended up with the Geechees in the Carolinas and Georgia, and that's one of the stories. And a book I actually received an award for from Mayor Muriel Bowser. This is the story of Marian Anderson. I wrote the libretto. I don't write the music. Bruce Adolph wrote the music. I wrote the words of the story of Marian Anderson, describing the 1939 event when she gave her concert on the mall. There's one thing I really wanted to share, which is not published yet, but it's about the power of art to change behavior, to make things better. And for 2 years, I taught at Harvard University, by the way. I was a professor there in epic poetry. I taught Latin, Greek poetry, epics. And one day I was riding on the subway there, and because people don't know you're a professor, right? And they're being all rude. And there were some people there. They were not black people. They were white people. They were being nasty. about things, and I felt very insulted there. And I'm thinking, these are the very people who want me to teach their kids when they get to Harvard, if they can get there. And I remember feeling, I got to go home, and I got to teach some of my own people. That doesn't mean they have to be black people. All of my people are my people, whatever, that are working with me toward getting things better. But I felt that the literacy crisis was, among other things, that brought me back to Washington, D.C. So for 2 years after I came here, I taught young children. And there's one thing that happened. There was a little boy that had been kicked out of every pre-K in D.C., and they gave him to me finally, because no matter what you would do, he would throw his shoes at the teacher. And I'm thinking, so they gave him to me, and he was all right for a little while, but after a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, he started throwing his shoes at me. And I'm thinking, and I started to play with it. Instead of getting mad like everybody else did, I started playing with the shoes, and lo and behold, I didn't know, the boy just melted into a pile of grief in the middle of the floor. I didn't want to do that. It's like his ego was shot because I didn't react the way I was supposed to act. And instead, I called him to me, and for throwing shoes at the teacher, I want you to replace that with shooting people, hurting people. This is the bad behavior. I called him up to me and said, you know what? I was not being honest either. It really does hurt my feelings when you throw your shoes at me. But let's make up a song or a poem or something so that when you feel like throwing your shoes, instead of doing that, we'll sing this song together. And that way both of us will feel better. And so we wrote this song together called Kindergarten Blues. And I got the kindergarten blues, yeah. Well, I got the kindergarten blues, yeah. I want to sit down on the floor and hit the teacher with my shoes, yeah. And I don't want to take up more time than you have. There's a whole long verse for that, several verses. I would love to publish it and have all the royalties come to this bookstore, and I got all the help I can get. And I think we could use this as a part of your fundraising to help get you off the ground and everything. And my heart goes out to the family of Charnice. The grief I feel, I still feel it when I think of her sitting there and getting shot for nothing. So let's make it so we don't forget her. Thank you so much.
Okay, as she takes her book with her, I was going to read for your illustrious introduction.
Okay, sorry about that.
Not a problem. Give her another round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. That was Colivia Heron, who lives and writes in Washington, D.C. She has a Ph.D. in comparative literature and literary theory from the University of Pennsylvania. She held professional appointments at Harvard University, Mount Holyoke, California State University, and so forth and so on. And she was awarded the Operatic Arts in Washington, D.C. by Muriel Bowser as author of the children's book, Nappy Hair. And again, nappy hair is not a pejorative. It is a description of our natural state. And in order for us to love our natural state, we must also, therefore, be accepting of what that is. In the Bible, it's called hair of lamb's wool, I do believe. Okay. Thank you guys for coming out. Today is Juneteenth, 2017. Today would have been Charnice Milton's 30th birthday. And we just wanted to make sure that we make a joyful noise today. Known as Juneteenth, the African-American holiday that observes the freeing of the last slaves 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, it is fitting that Charnice's birthday falls on the oldest celebration of the ending of slavery in the United States. Those slaves who could not read were held in bondage longer simply because they were not made aware of their new status when the news appeared in the papers. Thousands of books have already been donated by this community for the We Love Books campaign. A crowdfund has been launched to raise funds towards renovations of the only bookstore east of the river. Our community partners believe that in order to get tough on crime, we need to get tough on literacy. DC's illiteracy rate is higher than the national average, and east of the river, its average is higher than its citywide average. Third grade reading scores have often been used to determine prison population projections, so there is a clear correlation between literacy and violence and crime. Therefore, we seek the support of the Fraternal Order of the Police,
D.C. Police Union, and the Metropolitan Police Department to endorse this campaign and encourage their members to donate in honor of an unsolved murder victim that needs the community to come forward to solve the case. We also seek the support of the Douglas Development to create a literacy and gun violence mural in honor of Charnice Milton to announce our work here in this community at the Good Hope and Martin Luther King Avenue intersection. We also seek to have Charnice's name officially added to the list of slain journalists. We also seek to support the work with the Office of the Deputy Mayor for Public Safety and Justice. We welcome our community partners to support our efforts and launch our campaign to make East of the River safer, stronger. Our community partners are Moms Demand Action, an organization that seeks common sense solutions to help decrease gun violence. Markus Batchelor, youngest ever elected member of the State Board of Education. East of the, Keisha Lee, Ward 8 Reeds. Sugar Bear EU, Grammy nominated DC Go-Go Legends, and the new Lion of Anacostia, our Councilman Trayon, Ward 8 White. And introducing our community partner who's here with us today, the founder of the East of the River Book Festival, Dr. Courtney Davis.
Thank you all. It's an honor for me to be here this afternoon and share some words of wisdom and some lessons that we can all benefit from by having a bookstore in our community. As you know, I'm the author of a book called A is for Anacostia. I'm very proud of this book because it reflects my own community, the community that we share together. I've been living here about 14 years. And so when I read this book, I get so excited because I share among smiles and knowledge of our community, not only for the people who already live here in the community to be excited about the people and places that are here in this book, but also for those who are not a part of our community, who live in other wards, who live in other states and other countries that want to learn about our community and want to come here. Just to read a few pages, just maybe two here, so that people familiarize themselves here with our community. It says, A is for Anacostia, the place we call home. From my back porch, we can see the Capitol's dome. B is for the big chair that rises above the street. I imagine sitting up high while dangling my feet. C is for my community. Whenever I'm alone, their smiles, support, and hugs remind me that I'm home. And if you want to hear more about how wonderful Anacostia is, you can absolutely find out by coming to our up-and-coming bookstore that will be in the basement right here at We Act Radio. And just to share with you, that's the connection that we have when we have local authors that are right here, born and raised in Washington, D.C. I feel like I'm adopted by Washington, D.C. I'm a native of Chicago, but loving Anacostia and wanting to make our community better because we have so much wealth, so much history, so much information and important places and important people to share. And so this would be the hub of all of those places and all that information right here in our own bookstore that we can walk to in our community. It's imperative that we share information, that we provide programming for future writers and readers, and use this as a very safe space to share narratives that we create for ourselves and for others as well. So thank you very much for joining me. Back again. I'd like to introduce a fellow author that will also attend the East of the River Book Festival in October, on October 14th. Her name is Christine Turner Jackson, and I'm asking her to step on up. She's the author of Pitch Black. Also a native Washingtonian who wrote with her father, who's going to give us some more information about the book.
Hello, and I actually count this a privilege to be back in this area. I actually grew up in Ward 8. My dad worked at St. Elizabeth's Hospital, so all I knew was his years of doing fast pitch softball, playing in Berry Farms every Sunday in the softball league. However, I didn't know he had another life, which was as a very good high school baseball pitcher for Cardozo High School back in the 50s. This book captures his life as an adolescent and as he progressed into high school playing baseball, the sport he loved, despite the racial tension of the times, he never focused on that. He said, I just wanted to play baseball, even though there were only 4 schools, black high schools in the area at the time. But this book talks about how he was raised by his grandfather, where now the Washington Nationals baseball field is. His house was there. And 4 uncles. He wasn't raised by my grandma. She was a teenage mom. But those men played an important role in his life, and I think this is actually something that we're dealing with now, is the need for role models for our black men, young men and boys. This book is written at a 6th grade level, but it's written such that people who are non-readers will be able to capture the story and get engrossed in what it's talking about in terms of navigating adolescence. And actually, I created a workbook to go with it, because what I realized as a former program director for a school dropout prevention program at the U.S. Department of Ed, 9th grade students often drop out of school because they cannot read. They've been held back 2 years or more in a row, and I have family members who were actually, unfortunately, part of that statistic. And then they become a statistic of our community. And it's because me, as a former classroom teacher, someone didn't take the time to connect with them early on while they were in elementary school. And they had a principal, as I had, who said, just keep them out of here. Pass them on. Even though they can't read, just get them out of here, because they're bringing our scores down. They're making our school look bad, and just move them on to middle school so we can just get them out of here. So as a new teacher, I had 13 and 14-year-olds who were reading at 1st and 2nd grade level, but not knowing I was doing social promotion at the prompting of my principal. So Pitch Black is trying to bring back the need for literacy, get kids excited about reading about people who were like them, navigating adolescence, doing things both bad and good, and also at the end triumphing and having a success. And that's what we want our kids to be, is successful. So Pitch Black will be in the house here, and I'm going to be around. I'm now, my kids are young adults, so I have more extra time to give back to those that I know really need someone in their lives. So I look forward to being a part of this bookstore. Thank you.
Next, we have a representative from the Future Foundation to tell us about some upcoming writing programs for youth and for young adults in the community. Please welcome Ms. Ford.
Ms. Ford. Thank you so much, Ms. Davis. My name is Ayanna Ford, and not only am I the executive director of the Future Foundation, but I'm a proud 8th generation Native Washingtonian. My gender pronouns are she and hers. I'm pleased to be here because this really goes to show that community is all we need to build what we must have. Often we're told that developers and elected officials are needed to be in the planning process in order for us to effectively provide resources for our community. And this initiative shows that that isn't true. And the community partners that Mr. Freeman has listed has shown as well that that is not true. I'm proud to stand here as the executive director of the Future Foundation and show our commitment to this initiative. We will do whatever we can to ensure that there are books here and that we are here to show the world that we can write the world free. We've been doing this for a while over at Berry Farms Recreation Center, and this book, The World Without Racism, written by Aleda R. Crack, is an example of that. This young lady from Bowie, Maryland, wrote this book after the world wasn't too nice to her. And she's been using it pre and post Trump to really ensure that we're having holistic conversations around what we're experiencing in a world full of racism. Continuing, she envisioned Write the World Free, a program where folks are using their words to change the world. Not only just writing books, these youth have written songs, these youth are writing poetry, these youth have now done journalism, and they have a show that comes on every Thursday because they saw the need to give folks access who couldn't read and saw the frustration in trying to use books to stimulate conversation. And so what we really want to do is meet folks where they are. the authors who've spoken before us have spoken about the need to really make sure that we understand how illiteracy plays a role in crime, displacement, gentrification, racism, and so many other issues that we're experiencing. It impacts health when you can't read your prescription and know how often you need to take it. It impacts the next generation when they have parents who can't help them with their homework and they may really want to succeed and survive. To be clear, we're losing students in the District of Columbia before they reach the 9th grade. They're dropping out in 8th. And a number of community programs that are within our schools and without do not have folks who are culturally competent or culturally humble to meet our growing future adults where they are. And so initiatives like a bookstore in the community that doesn't require access transportation, that doesn't require a Caucasian face and a brand, are very important to ensuring that we're creating a future worth fighting for. And so I stand here proud to know that this exists and committed to do the work possible to make sure it thrives. And I'm hoping that every member of the community does what they can, even if it's just stopping by with a kind smile and an encouraging word, to do so, because support is free.
Everyone, how are you doing today? For those of you that haven't met me, my name is LJM. I started the literacy campaign Bookapalooza, which then took root and launched into this amazing, greater initiative of #WeLoveBooks. Also being able to honor a great young woman such as Charnice A. Milton. I didn't have the pleasure of meeting her. However, she was 27 when she passed away. I'm currently 27 right now. So that hits home because in my mind, I'm not old. And as far as I'm concerned, I always age with grace. But the fact that I can share that with her and the fact that I'm actually merging her name with something that's as passionate to get our babies to read. Because as they said, oppression knows no color. However, over here, the people are oppressed. And these wars are comprised of 94 and 92% all black. So that says something. That states something. And it's time to wake up and pay attention. So with this, having the bookstore underneath, we will become this oasis in the literacy desert. And we will grow and promote more to have those writing programs, to be those resources in order to give power back to our people. Now, don't get me wrong, it still takes a village. However, we're coming to the table. We're not building taller fences, but we're expanding our table. So that's why we had this meeting today to show collaboration, because that's the only way we're going to win if we come together and combine forces. So I just want to say thank you, truly thank you to everyone who has come here, who has joined this initiative, because when I thought of Bookapalooza, I couldn't have imagined this. And this is greater. This is amazing for our community and showing our babies that we care, building that stock. So I just want to say thank you. This bookstore. Oh, I'm going to Africa today, actually. I leave in an hour. I'm actually headed to South Africa. And great news is I spoke to the initiative that I partner with because I have an international mentoring program, and they have agreed to participate with us in #WeLoveBooks. So make sure to keep an action and a word to check out, because we are going to be partnering with them, and I'll be sending over footage and things, because we're also going to build a cultural exchange program to send them books as well. So just to build those global relations and to expose our children to far greater success and horizons. So once again, thank you. I appreciate you. Have a great day on purpose. Oh, bringing up the one and only Miss Lena.
Hi, good afternoon, I suppose. Thank you guys for coming. Your presence here today means that this is important to you. As important as it is, we have to make sure that we're spreading the news and making sure that more people know about this and more people can support it, because what's most important is that we begin to have control over our media resources in our community. And that's what this is about. I walked into this radio station, I don't know, 2 months ago, and this was already going on, but I knew how important it was. And you guys being here means that you do too. We just need to make sure we have control over what our children are seeing, what our children are taking in, because so many of them are just already consumed by technology and things that we don't really have control over, the Kardashians and just all these videos showing violence and showing things that are not as valuable as what can be between the pages of a book. So thank you guys for coming. Thank you guys for supporting. Make sure you spread the word, and make sure you come back to see where we are in a few months. Thank you so much. God bless. In 2 weeks, next Sunday, I'm going to Columbia to teach English to high school students. And these are high school students who think it's important to learn English because they believe that coming to America is going to bring so much opportunity, students of color. So that's also why it's important for us to do this here, because our students of color here need to know how important it is for them to educate themselves and us to share what we know with them. So thank you guys so much.
So introducing another initiative that is here in DC, it is Books and Breakfast. They are also, well, they'll give you more background, but they have ties with Hands United, who was out there in Missouri with Mike Brown. So they're going to come up and speak. What was your name?
Kevin Bell.
This is Kevin Bell. He will come and speak to you. And that's his lovely wife, Dana, in the back.
How you doing? We're Books and Breakfast, Carolina initiative. We originated in Greenville, North Carolina 6 months ago. We didn't have much luck there, so we decided to bring our literacy program here where we grew up, 1258 Eden Road, Bury Farm, Southeast. And it was important that we come here today because we feel as though had that been a book in the young man's hand or young female's hand at the time that this young lady was killed at that bus stop, the outcome would be different. We all know that, literacy is a big ongoing problem here in our communities. So, our initiative is just to grab the youth now at the age that we can reach them and start them on a path where they can further their mind, their potential. And, the brain is a muscle. The more you use it, the better off you are, just like any other muscle in your body. And today's technology gives our children a disadvantage. But we have the advantage as parents, as a community, especially as fathers and mothers. And, for those who don't have fathers and mothers, it takes a community to raise one child. So the earlier we can get them into reading, understanding, identifying with themselves through these books, I think the better off we are. So, our initiative is just to replace each gun here in Southeast, Northeast, Northwest, the surrounding suburbs with a book. And I think it starts now. So, we support having the bookstore here. We're going to continue to support having the bookstore here. Again, like I said, we're, 6 months into this thing, but Books and Breakfast started in Ferguson, Missouri after the Michael Brown killing. So we decided, hey, we're going to further this thing. And we are also in 30 other cities, Philadelphia, Louisville, Cleveland, New York, Boston. And as we continue to grow, hopefully, each one reach one, maybe we can teach one. So again, I like to thank each and every last one of you all, for supporting the literacy, cause. And I think together, the more that we, can make awareness and continue to grow, the better off we'll be as a community together, all races and colors. So again, I'd like to thank you, and hope to see you guys at our upcoming event. Is it June 24th? Yeah. Yeah, at Douglas Community Center in Southeast. It's going to be from 11 to 12 p.m. And we hope to see you all there. And, let's continue to get this done.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. We hope to give Books and Breakfast a home here and accommodate them for their many events, not waiting for the bookstore to open to do so. So our door is open for you. Now, who brings the interns up to speak at a press conference? We do, because We Act Rail is based upon a simple African proverb:
Until the lions have their own historians, the tales of the hunt will continue to glorify the hunters. For far too long, the hunters have been telling the story, and the lions are here to hear us roar. Having said that, this is the words from Kenneth McClendon, father of Charnice Milton. He says, "This is a tremendous recognition of a great young woman's life whose commitment to God and community rises above even the most hostile acts of mankind. This is a sincere, special way to offer her name as a testament to the power of reading and the hope of reviving our community." Some of the other people we're looking forward to working with is Teaching for Change, also the Howard Zinn Education Project, and of course other community partners in the running of the bookstore. And we'll have a huge writing workshop component, because it's also imperative not only to read, but also to be able to tell your own stories. We think that combination is necessary for critical thinking. And so, having said that, the words of Paul Rupert, he's the founder of Upshur Street Books. That was the first new independent bookstore open in the city for years. He was able to get it done, and he said to us that every neighborhood deserves a bookstore. All right? So give that to anyone who says you have libraries. Okay? And the most common way people give up their power is by thinking they don't have any. Pulitzer Prize-winning author Alice Walker. That concludes our press conference. Thank you all for coming out. You can support us by using hashtag #WeLoveBooks or pictures of books that you love. And also you can make monetary donations by going to weactradio.com and clicking We Love Books. We all know one person with a check. Call that one person. Post those pictures. Do what we can to make this noise. Our crowdfund is active until July 27th, and we hope to. We got 3 figures already. We were trying to raise 6 figures, so as far as I'm concerned, we're halfway there. So thank y'all for coming out. Write to your council member, and please stay in touch with us, and let's hear from you and your ideas on how we can have community-led development and equitable economic development east of the river and change in our lifetime. So thank y'all for coming out.
To get tough on crime, you better get tough on literacy. That's the message that a radio station called We Act Radio in Southeast D.C. is pushing. And, as their name suggests, they're doing more than just talking. Matt Uris reports that station is trying to open a bookstore.
I'm in the middle of We Act Radio studio. It's where the idea all started. A group of hosts and producers were sitting around chatting about the need for a bookstore east of the river. That's when it hit them. Let's transform the basement into just that. Today marks the beginning of that journey. We Act Radio was packed in an effort to highlight the project and jumpstart fundraising. The station's talent showed out.
All right, everybody donate a book.
Having hosted Southeast D.C. native Sugar Bear and his band Experience Unlimited.
When you get the notion.
The Go-Go Band made it big with its hit called Da Butt.
We opened up for Bob Dylan, over 70,000 white fans. We was the only black people there. And they gave us a standing ovation, and everybody was doing the butt.
He gave up a gig and therefore money to be here. Why? The lack of educational opportunities in Southeast concerns him.
A lot of teachers are afraid to work in Southeast. It's rough, man. So we get the last of everything.
Turning the basement into a community bookstore is going to take time.
I understand it may look a disarray right now, but what I need you to do is use your imagination. Over here, envision shelves along the walls filled with books.
The space is to be named after book lover and slain reporter Charnice Milton. She was caught in the crossfire of a drive-by shooting in Southeast 2 years ago. Her homicide remains unsolved.
You can also do a psychological profile of the people who were responsible for a murder. They was probably functionally illiterate, they probably didn't finish school, they probably had trouble reading, and this is what we need to address.
The station wants every police officer in the district to give $10. Think of it as a way of fighting crime, they say. Beginning tomorrow at 11 a.m., the police and you watching at home can begin making donations. We'll have more information in our WUSA 9 app. In Southeast, Matt Uris, WUSA 9.
And Matt says that project is expected to cost about $180,000.